Before the phrase serial killer ever entered the American vocabulary, before psychologists, profiles, or true crime podcasts, there was already a man moving quietly from town to town, leaving bodies behind. No newspapers called him a monster. No crowds gathered for trials. There was no name for what he was. America didn't yet know how to recognize evil that wore a familiar face. I'm Clyde Chester, and this is History of United States. Tonight, we're uncovering the story of America's first known serial killer, a man whose crimes unfolded so early in the nation's life that history almost forgot him entirely. His name was Thomas Lewis, sometimes called Thomas Hogg, and he was killing Americans before the United States fully knew itself. The year was 1790. The Constitution was new. George Washington was president. The country was still stitching itself together from 13 fragile states. Law enforcement was local. Justice was personal. Crimes were treated as isolated events. There was no national database, no shared intelligence, no concept of a traveling murderer. If someone died violently, it was a tragedy, not part of a pattern. That blind spot would prove deadly. Thomas Lewis was unremarkable. He wasn't wealthy. He wasn't powerful. He didn't command attention. He drifted, working odd jobs, staying briefly in towns across New England and the mid-Atlantic. He presented himself as a laborer, sometimes a sailor, sometimes a farmhand. He was polite, quiet, forgettable, and that was his greatest weapon. The victims didn't make headlines. A woman found strangled in a boarding house, a child discovered beaten near a rural road, a family servant who vanished and was later found dead. Each town mourned, each sheriff investigated, each case was closed or quietly abandoned. No one connected them, because no one believed such a person could exist. In early America, murder was seen as personal, a crime of passion, a feud, a moment of madness. The idea that someone could kill again and again, compulsively, without reason, that idea belonged to folklore, not law. Thomas Lewis moved freely through this gap in understanding. He crossed state lines with ease. He left no trail anyone knew how to follow. America had no name for him. His capture came not from pattern recognition, but from chance. In Massachusetts, Lewis was accused of murdering a young woman named Mary Rogers. Witnesses placed him near the scene. Evidence, rare for the era, began to mount. When questioned, Lewis did something unusual. He confessed, not just to one killing, but to many. Lewis spoke of multiple murders across different states, different victims, different years, men, women, children. It stunned authorities. They didn't have language for what he was, but they knew they were hearing something unprecedented. Newspapers reported the confessions cautiously. Some editors refused to print details, fearing panic. Others doubted him outright, because accepting his story meant accepting a terrifying truth, that America had produced something new. Thomas Lewis was executed in 1803. There was no deep investigation into his past, no attempt to confirm every confession, no effort to study his mind. The country wanted closure, not comprehension. He died as a murderer, not as a warning. Lewis didn't fit the narratives America preferred. He wasn't infamous like later killers. He didn't leave behind manifestos or myths. He existed before crime could be categorized. As the nation moved forward, his story faded, but his legacy remained, in silence, because he proved something uncomfortable, that even at the nation's birth, darkness traveled its roads. America's first serial killer wasn't the worst. He was the first unnoticed. His victims weren't protected by systems that didn't yet exist. His crimes weren't understood by a society still learning what it was capable of. History didn't forget Thomas Lewis by accident. It forgot him because remembering him forces us to admit something unsettling, that evil doesn't wait for modernity. It arrives early, quietly, and often unnoticed. I'm Clyde Chester, and this has been History of United States.